Oi, you know what time it is? You're tuned in listening to Dry That Aussie Metal Guy. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his content when it drops. And remember, stay brutal, you mad dogs. Roof.
Okay, then. G'day, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com. So today, tonight, this morning, wherever you are in the world, it's great pleasure that getting to have a chat with the talented Lucas Woodland from Welsh band Holding Absence, who have been making waves in the scene for steadily for the last 10 years, coming up on 10 years as a band. Can you believe it? With their emotionally charged and introspective music. Their latest album, The Noble Art of Self-Destruction, did come out last year. It's an absolute ripper of an album, does delve deep into themes of self-reflection, personal growth, and also showcases their evolution as artists. They are gearing up for an upcoming Australian tour, as the legendary You Me at Six do call it a day. Lucas, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for the intro. Appreciate it.
Absolute bloody pleasure, mate. First off, for the uninitiated, man, can you tell me kind of how you feel the journey of Holding Absence has gone so far? Because it's 10 years, man, and you've amassed millions of
Yeah.
views, played all over the bloody world. How do you feel it's gone
Aw,
so far?
amazing, man. And I think the coolest thing about Holding Absence is that we have always been somewhat of an underdog and we've always had a slow and steady climb, you know? So it's like, we've never been that band that lots of people like to, say it, but the truth is, we never like blew up or anything. It's just like, it's been step by step on the long ladder to the top. And there's still a long way to go, you know what I mean? But I'm just grateful. I enjoy every step and I love to take in the surroundings as we go through it all, So
Yeah, well, I come across you guys. I think it was the greatest mistake of my life, which was an absolutely amazing album. And like you said, you guys have
thank you.
been working hard ever since, like I think that this is as one, the first EP there you released, but you did do a little bit of stuff earlier, but you kind of started kicking off and getting really serious. But through that time, you've worked your fucking ass off. Even through COVID, you were planning things
Yeah.
out, making music and dropping stuff as well. How's that been for you, man, to keep yourself motivated and to keep bringing out music and pushing so bloody hard and touring? I know you've also had a close relationship with Australia, toured over here a few times as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I mean, the music industry is a funny one because it's full of psychopaths with a passion for it, right? And I don't think any other industry in the world exists quite like it because truthfully, nobody would do the things we did if you weren't like just delusionally in love with it, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, so a big part of it is just like loving what we do and really committing to the grindstone and working our butts off. And like we've played in Australia actually. The first date of this Yumi at Six show tour will be our 500th show as a band, like, which is crazy. When you include COVID in that, you include the fact that we were a British band for 7 of those years, and you can't really play too many places in Britain. It's like so yeah. So we've been working our butts off. But I think, like I said, it's purely a product of love, and I hope it never goes away. So yeah.
Yeah, well, yous have been doing pretty well over here in Australia for quite a while now, which has been really good. And you guys have played over here a few times. But I've been meaning to ask you, I knew when I got you, was tell me a little bit about how that collab with Alpha Wolf come about, because that was a kick-ass fucking EP from you guys as
Thanks,
well,
man.
eh?
Thank you. Yeah, it was honestly, it was effortless to be honest. It was like we met Alpha Wolf in 2019. We were both opening a really big festival in Europe, and it was like early doors. We were the underdogs, like big time. We were both these little bands, and like we had to share. I mean, I'm looking around at the room that I'm in now, and the dressing room we had to share with them was like a third the size of this. So we had to be friends with those guys, and it was cool. We were both on Sharp Tone, and it was, I can't help but feel like it was probably the first Australian person I ever met, honestly. So like, it was like this really cute early kind of friendship that we formed, and all these years later, they've been so supportive of us. Like, I've got to shout it out, man. Like, whenever we put out an album, I look at the orders and I can always see like Sabian and Scotty are shipping a box set to Australia or whatever. They're so supportive of our band. And basically it was like, we like to do cool shit. They like to do cool shit. And we both truth be told, we both put out good albums in the pandemic, and I think we were both ready to continue our careers, but we weren't ready to move on from those albums, if that makes sense. Like A Quiet Place to Die was an amazing album, and I think they were in a place where they were like not quite ready to do a new album, but ready to put something out. And what is cooler than a split EP? Nothing is cooler than a split EP, especially if you like the two bands. And on top of that as well, it was like, if we can feature on each other's tracks and really like integrate this, it'll be so cool. And I'm just so proud of that EP, because it's like two passionate bands who just did it because it was cool. You know what I mean? No other reason. And it didn't make sense to a lot of people, but like you just said, then just get such a fond response from that EP. People really, really loved it, and I'm grateful. So.
Yeah, well, I know a few people from Wales, and it seems like we've got kind of the same attitude, Aussies and people from Wales as well. So man. It does seem like a really good team up there as well. So the latest album, The Noble Art of Self-Destruction, did come out last year, and I know you guys probably every couple of years you're working on another album. But can you tell me about what inspired the title and themes of that album?
Yeah, so The Noble Art was, I think, where we were at with that album was, it was like, we'd done the first album, we'd done the second album, and we felt like we loved what we were doing as a band, and we kind of wanted to hone in on it and continue to do what we were doing. But at the same time, we knew kind of evolution was imminent. So it was very much a love letter, I guess, to our own band in some regards, doing stuff that, we knew we were good at, and we'd maybe done before, but how do we do it better, and all that. And with that then come the idea that maybe it's the end of a trilogy, almost looking at it as like the first three albums are kind of bowed together as this big project. And then with that, it was like, right, first album is about love, second album is about loss. What do I do next? And it kind of reached a point where I realized that the Noble Art was very much about contextualizing, growth, and like looking at, if this thing has happened, if and I've mourned it, what do I do? And it's about evolving. Now it's about growing. Now it's about coming to grips with myself and learning to love myself. And essentially, that album was kind of like the therapy session after a long lifetime of hardship. You know what I mean? It was like, let's really like think about where we're at now. And I think I'm really proud of the album, because I think the narrative and the intention is really strong. And if you listen to the closing track, The Angel in the Marble, the whole thing is kind of summed up by I love that song so much. I'm so proud of it. So it's like, it's very much it's very much a kind of a conclusion and an acceptance in some ways, you know what I mean? So yeah, love that album, love that song, and I'm really proud of what we did to close that trilogy off,
I love that track there. You mentioned that, as you can tell. I love the deeper cuts on albums. That's why I'm always going to be a fan of listening to whole albums, because if you just go by the streaming cycles and you go, oh yeah, that one's got 8 million.
That single is great. Yeah.
But then you listen to a whole album as a whole, and you can really get hit out of left field sometimes. And when listening to that song the first time and then coming back again to it, like today, I was just like blown away like the first time I was. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Tell me about that track while I'm talking about it.
Yeah, well, we've always had like a penchant for closing tracks. I think the thing with our band is like, we love to be melodramatic and extreme, but we're aware that we're somewhat of a commercial band, you know what I mean? So it's like, we don't always get to write these 6.5 minute long tracks, but when we do, we lock in, you know what I mean? Like, we really lock in. And I think with The Angel in the Marble, it was like, I mean, a big thing about writing songs is like, if the vision is strong within you, it's so much easier to write about it, right? If I told you to write a description about someone you know very well and love, it'd flow off the tongue, right? Whereas if I said, create a character and then describe them, you'd struggle. It'd be like, I guess their hair looks like that. Like, I don't know. And I think it sounds stupid, but it's like, sometimes when you have a really strong narrative, it flies out of you. Whereas if you're trying to make something make sense, it can feel contrived, I think. And I think The Angel in the Marble, looking at the Michael Leonardo da Vinci kind of statue, and finding that quote where he said, someone said, how did you make Michael? And he said, I saw an angel in the marble and I had to set it free. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, like, in some way we're all blocks of marble, but our best version is in there somewhere. Does that make sense? And it's a case of almost breaking away parts of yourself. And on top of that as well, you know, the concept of breaking things hurts, man. Growth hurts, you know? So it's like, and I just, like, by the time I really got my mind into that song, I was just like, it just flies off the tongue. It's such a natural analogy. And it felt like a beautiful ending to the trilogy, you know? And I remember thinking, even if the band splits up now, and we've done a trilogy of albums, like, that song, man, just like going out on a high, you know? So, yeah.
And the things you mentioned, like, the world is an uncanny place. I just mentioned those exact things you were talking about with my psychologist. I'm recently in remission from cancer, and I just talked about,
oh my God, congrats,
the beauty of life. And I was just saying how life at the end of the day is all about love, loss, recreation, these things we go through that are really tough, but that is also the part of life that's beautiful, isn't it? Going through these things, love, loss, and, as you said, self-destruction, and rebuilding yourself through these moments. And that's another thing that I really noticed, how mature your songwriting and lyrics are, and delivery as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think a lot, you know, and I can tell you do too, you know? So it's like, and I think there's a special sauce for people like us, you know, and, like, not everyone will understand it, but, like, it's those sleepless nights where we've been lying awake wondering what the hell is on the other side, you know. It's like, it makes you value the things you love. And I think, like, you know, the world is full of hard things, but it's what makes the beautiful things worth living for, you know. So yeah.
Music is art, and art is life, and those moments of connections you're able to make with people across the bloody world just through your music as well. It must be
without even realizing
thing.
I think that's the crazy thing, is I've thrown billion in a bottles out there, right? You know, and I don't know if anyone's picked them up. I can only hope, you know. And I think there's something beautiful about that almost, you know. So
yeah, so I'm going to touch on the upcoming support as well with you, Me at 6. You are supporting with them, so that must have been a really good coup to support these guys, especially starting out January, being that they're calling it a day for the final shows, and you're getting to play with them all over the place. What was that like, getting that slot?
Yeah, really cool. You know, they, truthfully, like, me and the boys have been playing music together since we were 16, you know? So it's like, we've been making music. I know Holden Abson's been going a long time. We've been going even longer. And, like, yeah, I mean, we used to cover You Me at 6. You know, first show I ever played, I was doing a You Me at 6 cover. So to be able to kind of do this farewell run with them, and, you know, finally be playing shows with them, but on top of that as well, like, being able to be there as, you know, we get to wave them goodbye, I think is really, really special. So, and we love Australia so much. We just got such a kinship with Australia and the wonderful people out there. So it's like, just feels like a little celebration, you know?
No, it's going to be a massive, massive year. You guys have a whole ton of shows. I've seen you playing When We Were Young, which is a massive coup as well, over in Las Vegas next year as well. But you are starting out in Australia, doing your 500th show, going over to Japan and all over the bloody place. So you can catch Holding Absence everywhere, guys. Do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friend?
No, just thank you for a lovely chat, man. Good start to my day. So thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Everybody go out, grab the latest album, The Noble Art of Self-Destruction. Grab all of Holding Absence music, chuck it in the stereo, turn up really loud, and you can catch them down under in January. Cheers, mate. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much, dude. Take care of yourself.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.